All right, good morning. We are back with another ride with me to the gym. I think this is either episode 9 or 10. Either way, this one should be a shorter one because I started the video a bit closer to the gym than usual. I'm realizing that the lighting on these is just virtually non existent based on the fact that the majority of the time I am heading to the gym fairly early in the morning. For example, right now it is 4:24 a.m. Starting this week, I have a morning call that has been moved up about an hour earlier than it normally is. So for me, that means that if I want to stay, which I do, consistent with my training rhythm, then I will either need to get up earlier or get into the gym earlier, I should say, or shift my training to a later time frame, either mid-morning or maybe even into the evening. And I'm not really a big fan of mid-morning or evening for myself. I typically like to train in the morning. So I'm going to be working through some trial and error over the month of May to just kind of figure out which rhythm is going to work best for me, and that's what I want to share with you today, is figuring out a training rhythm that works for you. And a bit of a backstory for me, I have not always been a quote unquote morning person, or more specifically, an early morning workout person, not in any way, shape, or form. When I first really started taking ownership over my exercise and my fitness rhythm, I initially was training, I want to say somewhere between, let's say, 7 and 9 a.m., right around there. Actually, a little bit later than that. It would be right after I dropped my daughter off at daycare. And if you're interested in the whole backstory into how I first really took ownership over my fitness, which was at the age of about 30, 31, then let me know in the comments and I will happily share some details with you on that. However, yeah, I initially started out as probably somewhere around 8 o'clock, let's say, as a sweet spot, was when I would train in the morning. And then at a point where I secured a job that required a fairly lengthy commute, then it was either I'm going to get this workout in early in the morning before I need to hit the road, or sometimes I need to catch a train. Then that's what I'm going to have to do to get this done. Crazy enough, though, with that job, there were some times where, just based on the commute and what my schedule was and things along those lines, sometimes I would actually end up needing to train at night. So I would be training sometimes at 11 p.m. or midnight. And this was in Chicago. So in Chicago, there's quite a few just establishments in general that are 24 hours of operation. So that was also when I first was introduced to the fact that yes, you do have personal trainers who will train people at midnight, which that opened my eyes quite a bit to just how much variety there is and individualization there is in personal training. So we're actually going to pop the light on because we arrived. When it comes to training either in the morning, the afternoon, the evening, the mid-morning, whatever the case may be for you, the key is that it needs to be what works for you. So a few tips that I've got for you when you're trying to figure out what works for you is pay attention to the time frame that really promotes you getting your training in with consistency. So how often are you able to follow through on your workouts when you say that you're going to work out at, let's say, 7 a.m.? Like, how often are you able to follow through on that? So one would be take note of the time frames that allow you to follow through with consistency. Number two, and these are in no particular order, these are just off the dome. Number two would be pay attention to the times where your workouts feel the strongest, when you feel like you are able to perform well. In that same boat, pay attention to when you believe you're actually able to focus on your training. So you are able to train with minimal distractions. So you're actually able to focus on your sets, your reps, your intensity, all that stuff. It may not be necessarily where you have the most time, like where you have a 2-hour window. It might be a time where you have a 30 to 50-minute window, and because you actually have a smaller window of time in order to do that training, you are more engaged and you're more focused. So maybe that's a better time for you. Like if that's 5 p.m., then cool. So I would say those two things, if I were to try and keep it as efficient as possible, which I'm going to so that I can go get my workout in, those two things would be things that I would recommend that you pay attention to when it comes to, okay, figuring out what time frame works for me. All right, so I hope that that helps, and have a great training session because I'm about to go nail this one. Take care.